Donnarumma, he's 26. He's one of the best keepers in the world. It'd be crazy if Man United don't go for him. We used to go to games a lot and play really badly, but find a way to win. I had it in DC with one of my players who got racially abused, and he was crying on my chest.
Hi guys, the Wayne Rooney Show is back for episode 2. In case you haven't seen enough of Wayne Rooney across the BBC this weekend, we're going to get even more of his thoughts on the action. Kae Kurd alongside myself, Kelly Summers and Wayne. So Kae, firstly, did you have a good weekend?
Yeah, it was great. I watched Wayne on Match of the Day, smashed it. It was nice to see him have a debut without ripping his shirt, so that was good.
Do you know what? I've obviously been told about how long you're there in the offices before Match today, and weirdly enough, I actually got there 2 hours early. So yeah.
Why would you do that? As someone, I mean, I love the show,
No,
but someone that's presented it before, it's a long day anyway, Wayne.
Yeah,
I think it was to nick that BBC sign in the background.
No, it was a long day, but no, it was all good, and I dropped one of my boys off at his game, and then I got there to make sure I could watch my other boy who was playing. He's under 18, so I made sure I was there and I could watch him play before, obviously watching all the games.
God, so you're literally got a full-time job now as a football dad and the busiest man at the BBC.
I know, I need paying more.
There's a message to the boss, if ever I've heard it. Okay, we are here to review the weekend's action, and there is only one place for us to start. Manchester United losing their opening game of the season 1-0 to Arsenal in the Sunday 4:30 kickoff. So Wayne, firstly, how are you feeling after that one?
Yeah, obviously disappointing result, but I think there was lots of positives within the game. I think Cunha looked fantastic. I love the way he picked the ball up and he was driving at players. Playing with the freedom and the creativity which maybe has been lacking in the last few years. I thought Ahmed, when he come on, was again fantastic. We know what he can do, and when I was in and out of the game, I felt started really well. Come out for a little bit, but then got back into it. And Sesko, when he come on, I think he done what we expect him to do. He held the ball up, he put himself in the middle of the goal, and he was waiting to try and get chances. So I think there's lots of positives. Still a concern for me in the middle of the pitch. I think with Casemiro and Bruno, I think they need more legs in there. I think Bruno, fantastic player, and I want to see him a bit more higher up the pitch where he can be more creative and try and create and score goals. And Casemiro, I just think we a little bit weak in there and covering the full width of the pitch. So yeah, I don't know what has happened with Kobe Mainoo. I think he's looks like he's not in the manager's plans. But yeah, I think there's so many positives from the game. Dorgu, I thought was really good, and then we go on to the goalkeeper situation, which I'm sure every Man United fan is asking the same question. And for me, Donnarumma's out there. If there's a possibility you can get him, he's 26.
Yeah.
You have to go for him because clearly that was an issue.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, look, there were so many flashes of brilliance from Cunha and Mbeumo. I mean, when I was looking at Cunha, what I liked about him was not only is he good with the ball, he's got a great attitude as well. He it's like never say die attitude, which I really like about him as well. But Mason Mount played the best game I've ever seen him play in a Man United shirt, I thought. There was a couple of chances where I saw a couple of moments in the game where I saw him, like there was a few balls that he put in that were quite encouraging, and I just like seeing him do well, which was a great start.
Yeah, I think he's got energy, Mason, hasn't he? And he hasn't been fit since he arrived at Manchester United really for a period of time, and I don't think he's missed a day's training in pre-season, so I think he could be a huge player for Man United this season if he can stay fit. So, but yeah, no, I think there was so many positives throughout the game. Them players will be disappointed. Amaron will be disappointed they've lost the game, but I think for the fans looking at it, there's positives. It's not going to change in one transfer window, which Amaron has obviously had January, but one window which he's had in the summer. It's going to take a little bit more time, but certainly it's looking like it's on the right track for sure.
Absolutely, but the midfield. If you were Amarin, would you not be crying out for Baliba to just be put through the door right now?
You would be, yeah. But obviously with PSR and all the financial fair play rules, there, we don't know what situation Manchester United are in to try and do that. But I would for sure try and get a midfield player in there. I think a midfield player and goalkeeper is a priority, and if they can address that before this window closes, then I think they'll be in an okay place.
It seems like you see the top three, the three forwards. It seems like he doesn't have his best sort of combination there at the moment. Where would you, if you were playing, where would you want to play as well in this system?
In this system, I'd want to play as the forward, as the 9. But there's you can be flexible. You can go with 2 up and maybe push Bruno into a number 10 role, or Cunha into that number 10 role. What I liked is in the second half, he went for him, put Ahmed as right wing back, in which Bueno then could come inside. It gives you another attacking player on the pitch. So in certain games this season, I think he can afford to do that. In the bigger games, obviously Arsenal's a big game, but when they're chasing to try and get a goal, and you can do that. But I just think getting players in the right position is key. And sometimes everyone seems to have gone away from 2 forwards, and it's crazy over the years that you go with 1 forward and 2 wide men, and you've got midfielders trying to make the box, and sometimes 2 forwards is so difficult for defenders to defend the games. You give them different. If you had Sesko up there and Cunha, for instance, the 2 defenders have to be aware where they are. Then a midfield run from deep, might occupy them, then someone might get more space. So I think at times changing up a little, like Thomas Frank done. We've seen him in the Super Cup with a back 5. We've seen him with a back 4.
Or even yesterday, I mean, you see Kudus and Richarlison together up front.
Yeah, on Saturday, and it causes problems. Then it allows you to put balls in the box and pick up second balls, or get the first contact and score goals. So, but I think today I don't think Amorim will change away from, his system. I think he's been quite strong on that, but I think there was lots of positives for sure.
Guys, we can talk all we like about players that Manchester United need maybe in the middle of the pitch. Wayne, you tried to gloss over it. The goalkeeper situation at Manchester United. It's been something that the fans have wanted addressing for quite a while. You mentioned Donnarumma then. Is that a key thing that Amorim now needs to sort out in the final weeks of the window?
Yeah, I think it has to be. I think it was last season we seen a goal from Son as well, very similar, where he scored direct from corner. This one,
Olympico, that's what they called it. I didn't know that until it happened. And then they tried it the week after as well, and I was like, when did this get named?
So I think that was... And then again, seeing it today, you see a difference with David Raya in the second half, where it was the same corner, he's fighting. I can't remember, it might have been Delit, but he's moved Delit out the way, he's come and punched it. Your goalkeeper, I go back to when we had Roy Carroll and Tim Howard in goal. Now, I don't think there was 100% trust from the defenders in front of them 2 goalkeepers. Yeah. But the minute Van der Sar comes in and calms everything down, the defenders trust him a lot more. You see a better output of a performance, and I think that's where these United players are. They want that confidence and that trust in the goalkeeper behind them to marshal them, to be telling them where to go, and I just don't see that from the keepers.
What does that come from, Wayne? Is that charisma that the keeper needs to have, or is it is it an air of leadership about them? What is it that makes
and sometimes it can be just having a calmness, but speaking at the right moment. And sometimes you see goalkeepers, I think we've seen it with Onana in one of his first pre-season games, shouting at Harry Maguire, and sometimes you have to do it at the right moment. And I think the goalkeeper is so important to give you that calmness right throughout the team, especially your back 4 or 5 as it is now, but that gives you the calmness right throughout the team. And Van der Sar done that for us, where I think since David De Gea's left, Onana's come in. He's a fantastic keeper. I watched him at Inter Milan, and he was brilliant. So you hope, if they don't bring a new goalkeeper in, you hope that he can get back to that. But he certainly didn't fill us with confidence last season.
I don't think I'd be saying get Tom Heaton in net in 2025.
Tom's a good lad, and I can't believe he's somehow managed to get a new 1-year deal, to be honest. So he's doing something right. But no, listen, Tom's a safe goalkeeper, and I think he's probably more there as a training keeper, I'd imagine, at the minute. But I think Donnarumma, he's 26. He's one of the best keepers in the world. It'd be crazy if Man United don't go for him.
But do you think it's his wage demands? Because I know Ineos have come in and they don't want to break the bank for players' wages and stuff like that. They don't want to ruin the wage structure. Would you just risk it for this?
Well, I don't think he's a risk. I seen a stat the other day, the errors leading to direct goals is was 0. And some of his other stats weren't right at the top, but I think that's really important. You know, when a goalkeeper makes a mistake, it's very difficult to recover, certainly in that game, and then moving forward. So I think that's important. But yeah, depending on what he can do salary-wise and what he wants, that's another question, whether they can do it or not. But I'd certainly be asking the question and trying to bring him into the club.
And Kae, the argument as well is how many world-class goalkeepers or top-class goalkeepers are there out there at the moment as well? Donnarumma feels the obvious one, doesn't he?
Yeah, he is the obvious one. Diogo Costa as well is another one. But yeah, I mean, right now, if he's available for 26 million, it seems like a steal. I mean, I'd be sending Sancho, Malacia, anybody else the other way as well if I could.
That was another thing which I thought was refreshing today. Is I think I've seen a fight in Manchester United where I haven't seen for a few years.
Yes,
a togetherness, which and you have to give Amaron a lot of credit for that, because he's made big decisions with obviously Rashford, with Garnacho, with Sancho, in purposely keeping them away from the group. And that seems to have strengthened that chemistry amongst the players. And I think it was obvious today. You could see that, even though they lost the game, but they kept pushing, they stuck together, they kept fighting. There was tackles going in.
Heads didn't drop.
They kept going till the end. So I think the manager deserves a lot of credit for that, but for making them decisions. So yeah, hopefully moving forward, we see a lot more of what we've seen today at times, but also just being a little bit more solid. And then we start seeing Man United slowly getting back on track.
The one thing I liked as well was when Cunha was giving Odegaard a bit of argy-bargy. Do you know what I mean? There was a bit.
That's what that fixture's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, come on, a bit of needle. Come on, get a tackle stuck in here.
I used to love it playing against Arsenal. You know, and obviously there's some big ones which everyone knows about. Obviously, the.
Do you want me to list them out for you? All my favourite Wayne Rooney against Arsenal moments.
We've been doing this, haven't we? In our messaging group today, we've kind of all been throwing in, and there's some brilliant memories, Wayne, isn't it? But it kind of shows what a different fixture this is now, I think.
Yeah, I remember my first game at Highbury for Man United was the game with Roy and Vieira in the tunnel, and you feel it. You feel, you know, the game's on a knife edge, and you can feel that, and you know, even the referee got it. So it was you know, you had the Fabregas one with Alex Ferguson in the tunnel with the throwing the pizza at him, and you know, there's fights in the tunnel which you know, everyone was involved in it as well. And you know, I think when we beat them 2-0 after the Keown incident, obviously the Keown moment was before I was there, but the next year we beat them 2-0, and Sol Campbell didn't speak to me for over 6 months. We meet up with England, and Sol still wouldn't speak to me.
Were you happy about that though?
Yeah, sometimes I was with Sol, but no, I'd say to him, come on man, we're playing for England here, and he wouldn't speak to me because he felt I dived, and which he left his leg out. I think there was a small contact, but anyway.
Did you ever have it out, Wayne? How did you get over that?
Yeah, naturally you do, and I think it was a big game for Arsenal. It was if they won, it was 50 games unbeaten. So he was disappointed, but yeah, it was about 6 months he wouldn't speak to me. So that fixture was always, the rivalry was big, and when I joined Man United, that was the big rivalry we had then, and I think that's died down a little bit throughout football as well.
Yeah, I think you're right though. I think that rivalry dying down is indicative of where the clubs are at. I think both of them for so many years have lacked a lot of leaders and a lot of characters in the squad. I know, especially at Man United, we haven't had those characters where, you know, they demanded excellence throughout the whole squad. And I think at that point you did get that in that era. Yeah,
you didn't. But I think the game has changed as well. You know, when I was playing, you could put the armband on any player really, because you had lots of players with leadership on the pitch, and maybe that's not the case. I think I seen Tony Adams talking about Odegaard and Declan Rice should be captain. Well, whether that's the case or not, I think Declan will go on to be a fantastic captain for maybe for Arsenal, but also for England as well. But that's what you need. You need players. Sometimes players don't need to wear the armband as well. You need players who are just going to lead by example on the pitch. And I think in the way the game is now, that's a little bit. I don't think players are as close to each other than what it used to be, and sometimes that shows. Where I think fair play to Arteta over the last few years, they're just missing a major trophy, but you're certainly starting to see over the last 2 years in particular that steal and that fight with Arsenal, and then all these little tricks which you're doing to win free kicks or waste time. I think they do it really well.
I tell you what, I bet this is something that an Arsenal fan never thought they'd hear. Wayne Rooney complimenting Mikel Arteta's team. And we're actually joined by an Arsenal fan now. Rimedy joins us. Thanks for being with us on the Wayne Rooney Show. We're keen to get the Arsenal viewpoint. I know David Raya said post-match that maybe there was a little bit of relief. Are you relieved to get out of Old Trafford with 3 points?
Yeah, 100%. I thought that today, it wasn't really a usual, typical game that we'd see from Arsenal. Usually, we'd see the clean football, the crisp football, passing through the lines. But today, it was completely different. We got an early goal, lucky some would say, and then it was just a slog the entire game. And to be honest, I felt that maybe at times, like someone like an Mbeumo, someone like a Cunha, they really threatened us. But I didn't really think you guys were kind of on top of us. We couldn't get out. I think there were still moments that we could have still hit you guys on the counter-attack. But I just think from our point of view, if I'm looking at it directly as an Arsenal fan, sure, Manchester United were great. But I also think our level was completely terrible today. And I don't think, and I hope that we don't see something like that again going forward during the season.
I think that is an unbelievable win for Arsenal today, I think. Obviously, a lot of talk of Man United, and they've signed some new players and trying Amaran's first pre-season, and can he, get back to the level we all want to see them. Well, most of us want to see them at. So I expect Man United to come out fighting and make it difficult for Arsenal. And a sign of a good team is when you go to these games. We used to go to games a lot and play really badly, but find a way to win and figure out a way to go out and win that game and move on. And so I think for Arsenal, Arteta will be delighted with that win, because it allows him to go to the players and say we need to be better. We need to be more on the ball and dominate the game a bit more. But to figure a way to leave Old Trafford with 3 points, I think that's a massive plus for Arsenal today.
Well, that's how you win leagues, isn't it? You're right. Like, you grind out 1-0 results. That, like, you'll take 1-0 every week if it means you win in the league, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course, and
100%.
So yeah, I think that's why for Arsenal you'd be delighted. For Man United, there's lots of positives, but ultimately you lose the game, and that makes next week even bigger now for Man United.
But can we talk about Gyökeres, please? Because there was this big fanfare of him coming in, and I'm seeing the names online. They're calling me Gyökeres. They're calling him Gyökeres. Like,
great play on words, if you ask me.
Yeah. Rimedy, what did you think? Because he did look a bit sluggish, didn't he?
He looked sluggish. Saka looks sluggish. Martinelli looks sluggish. I think the entire team. I don't know, Wayne. Like, maybe you looking at it from the player side of things. Do you think Arsenal were fully fit? For me, I don't think we were at the races fitness-wise compared to a Manchester United.
Yeah, sometimes I always think you're never really fully fit. First game of the season, and a lot of that game you play on adrenaline. And then I think a big issue now, which obviously is a bigger discussion, a different discussion, is in the off season, and players don't rest.
Yeah.
And it's so important to rest. I think you see players on the Instagram, and whether they're training or not, or they're just putting it up to show people like they are, and changing their outfit 10 times a day and getting a few pictures in the catalogue. But no, players need to rest, because then they go on these trips to the States or to Asia, which is all great for promotion work and making money. But when you're playing that heat as well, it takes it out of you, and mentally, physically, psychologically, it takes it out of you. And then to come back, and I don't know where Arsenal went in this pre-season, but you have to get through that first. That's why I think it's such a good result for Arsenal. You have to get through until you come out of the first international break. I think you're still trying to find your full fitness, because the pre-season games, they don't compare to the league games.
Wayne, keen to get your thoughts as well on Gyökeres, because we spoke about obviously Isak and you were excited about Šeško, you said on the last pod. What did you make of Gyökeres, and when should we really judge him? Because obviously it was his introduction to the Premier League today.
Yeah, well, I think to be fair to him, he didn't have much support as well at times. Today he was a bit isolated, and I think he showed the strength. There was one time, I think it was De Ligt, he's completely ran into the channel and completely pushed him off the ball. So I think you don't become a bad player after one game. I actually played against him a couple of seasons ago when he was at Coventry, and from then you could tell he was a good player. The one thing I will say, this league is completely different to where he's been, and there's a lot more pressure. Obviously Arsenal have been in need of a striker for the last few years, and he's the one they've put the trust in. He's the one they've spent the money on, so there is a lot of pressure now. The question I would have, can he handle that pressure? Because like we see at Manchester United, some players just can't do it, can't handle the pressure of playing at a big club, and I guess we're going to find out over the next few months.
It's now or never for Arsenal, though. I think this season is it. Like, they don't have time for a striker to be finding his way. I think Oliver Glasner matched Arteta's trophy haul in one season. Like, this has to be the season where you get it done. Isn't that right, Remedy?
Remedy's smiling. I can't work out if that's a smile of fear or a smile of you're on the wind-up, Kae.
Bit of both. No, I understand. I think kind of consensus amongst Arsenal fans this season is, okay, the first two attempts at us challenging for the title, the first one, we were a young team. No one expected it. I think the second one was we tried our best. We pushed City all the way to the end. I think the third one, kind of like the consensus amongst Arsenal fans, is we had a ton of injuries. I think this one is probably you signed your striker, you signed your players. I think this one, it's all or nothing. So there's going to be that internal pressure from Arsenal fans as well. I think maybe from a board level, maybe from a higher up level. I don't know if that pressure is on Arteta, but definitely amongst the fans. Definitely for me, I always just think the season is now or never. Winning cycles, they don't last forever. We can't just be a young team forever. Everyone's getting older, everyone's getting more mature, and I think that pressure is on the team, and I think everyone feels it. So I know I wasn't too happy with the performance today, but I'm very, very happy with the 3 points, solely because I always just think if we improve on our points tally from last season, that's something to improve on, because we drew last season at Old Trafford, we beat them this season, so we're +2 on the season so far.
The game was very similar, I felt, to not last season, the season before. I think it was 2 or 3 games till the end of the season, and Arsenal were very poor in that game as well, and they come away with a 1-0 victory. But I think what I would say is that the two centre-backs, I thought they started a little bit shaky actually at the start of the game, but then they showed the class towards the end of the game. I thought they were excellent in leading the team, getting clearances out the box, and I think they're going to be huge if Arsenal are going to be successful this year.
Well, Remedy, hopefully these guys have cheered you up a bit. They sound like they were a bit more optimistic about the Arsenal performance than you.
No, I'm very happy with the win. I'm happy with the win. 3 points. We go to the next game. We play Leeds, so hopefully, I don't know, another 3 points next week.
Take the 3 points and run. Remedy, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate.
See you later, mate.
Wayne, I didn't want to ask you while he was still on the call. From what you saw today, can Arsenal win the Premier League?
Yeah, I think they can. I think it'll be tough, but I think they can win the league. I don't think you can judge it on today's performance from them, because I know what it's like. First game of the season, first few games of the season can be tough, but I think that they're certainly one of the 3 or 4 who could win it. That's for sure.
Wayne, did you take stock of other teams' performances when you were playing? So if you were on the first day of the season, if you saw Arsenal or Liverpool doing well, did that matter to you?
Good question.
Yeah, you want to start well. You want to start the season well. Of course you do, and but there's obviously 38 games, and there's no need to panic. Like Manchester United now, there's no need to panic because you lose the first game. I think because of what's happened over the last few years, there becomes more pressure on the next game and to try and get that first win of the season. But no, in general, you keep your composure, you keep your calmness, and you know, start trying to put a run of consistent games together and consistent wins, which Man United haven't done that. I think I heard today for all last season they didn't put, or since Amron come in, they didn't put back-to-back wins together. Yeah. Now, you're not going to win any league if you don't start, winning 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row, and then you might lose one, you might draw a couple of games, but you have to win these games in back-to-back to give yourself any chance.
That was the talk of a manager, wasn't it, Kay? You could tell he's been in management recently. That was very, very level-headed. Don't get carried away. I bet there's a few players going home changing their opinions. Okay, well, that is Manchester United 0, Arsenal 1 covered off. And we do like talking about all the big football stories on this show, but we do also have to address what happened at Anfield on Friday night. Of course, Liverpool getting their first 3 points of the season, but that match was overshadowed by the horrific early incident during that game when Antoine Semenyo reported being racially abused. Kay, firstly, your thoughts on this. When you were watching that unfold at home, how did you feel?
Well, it felt horrible. It felt absolutely disgusting. And the irony of it for me was you're seeing a fan with a badge on his right arm saying no room for racism, racially abusing a player. And it just goes to show that a lot of these campaigns that they run, it just feels a bit like we've got symbolic gestures in place, but we don't actually have any protocols in place for when something like this happened. Everybody was like, oh, well, that's the way to answer racist by having a man of the match performance. But that shouldn't be, the onus shouldn't be on the victim to play out of his skin in order to, provide a response against racism. We should have something in place where that doesn't happen in football stadiums. If Semenyo didn't play out of his skin and he did have a hard time after that, and that would have been a correct response as well. You can't tell victims of racism how to respond to it. There should be things in place where you take the responsibility away from them and you go, hold on a minute, that's not on. Whether they stop the game, whether they punish clubs for allowing these things, or whether there needs to be other action taken. I'm sure there's people smarter than I am that can find ways to get rid of this. But it's indicative of the society we live in at the moment, where people are becoming a lot more open and brazen to saying these sorts of things. And I think clubs and the league need to be a lot more hard on it. They need to come and clamp down on it as soon as you see something like this happen.
Wayne, we did a really candid interview last week where you opened up on the fact that you took time during your playing career to educate yourself on things that maybe you hadn't been educated on previously. And you mentioned about Black history and wanting to understand other cultures that players kind of come from. Is education for you the key with this? Is this just another example of it?
Yeah, I think massively it needs to be a strong campaign for society, for children, but not just children. I think for parents, for grandparents to be educated on it, because we're seeing it constantly in terms of people getting racially abused. And as you said there about the campaigns, I remember in that, when you talking about the Arsenal game, we had the bracelets on as a campaign. You're putting the t-shirts on, you're taking a knee. When I was manager of Derby County, we were taking a knee, and then the black players were standing, the white players were taking a knee. Now, for me, that's a divide. So you have to do one. There has to be one signal. You're all taking a knee, you're all standing, whatever. So straight away there's a divide, there's a split. So I think there has to be a huge education campaign in place. I think in the schools, we need to do more in the schools. I think there has to be more done. There has to be more education for people to understand it. But I think in these occasions, it's you have to hit the clubs. In my opinion, I think that's the only way it's going to stop, because there's ignorance. The fans are still going to do it, and you have to hit the clubs, whether that's taking points off them or hitting the clubs the pockets and taking money away from them. Because otherwise it's going to keep going. It's been going on for hundreds of years, and when you think you're seeing improvements, then all of a sudden it continues. So hopefully the right people sit down with the right organisations to try and get something serious in place.
I think you said something really poignant there, and I think it's about consequences. Yeah. There needs to be consequences for these actions. If there isn't consequences, people are going to be emboldened to carry on doing these sorts of things in grounds up and down a country, because they know they can get away with it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And you see the other day, the fan gets taken out of the stadium, the game carries on. I was actually thinking about it. I was thinking, how does, obviously for Semenyo, it's it's terrible for not for him, just for him, but for his family and his close friends as well. And then I was thinking, for Van Dijk, for instance, on the opposite side of the pitch, for Mo Salah on the opposite side of the pitch, how do they feel? How do they react to it? Because it's their supporters, one of their fans who has done this, and it must be a strange feeling for them.
I also wonder, like you said there about the Liverpool players who will have been racially abused, I'm sure at some point during their life, because it just seems like you said the society we live in, but also the Liverpool fans and the Bournemouth fans as well, maybe, that are sitting there in that stadium witnessing it, knowing that has happened, knowing that it's one of their fans that has done that to one of their players. I think for the fans as well, Kae, that must be really, really tough. I don't know how it makes them feel.
Of course, it's awful. I mean, I remember when there were fans racially abusing Paul Pogba, and it's scary to you because you're like, well, hold on, I might sit with you in the stands, and if you've got that opinion about him, you must have that opinion about myself or some of my friends or other people. And it's like, at the end of the day, I don't know what it is about the atmosphere of a football match that allows people to think that what they're saying is okay, or they love to say, oh, sorry, I got carried away in the moment. But it almost feels like for a lot of these people, they feel like a football stadium is a safe space to air out these views. And that's what needs to change.
I had it in DC with one of my players who got racially abused, and he was crying on my chest. I was holding him as he's crying on my chest, and I don't think people realise. I think they say it as a throwaway line, and that's what they're thinking. Oh, it's a throwaway line. It's got no meaning behind it. It hurts people, and I think for people to see that and understand that, I think there has to be more done, and to stop it, of course.
It's also really important that we don't lose sight of the performance of Antoine Semenyo on Friday night, and particularly that second goal, Wayne.
What I was saying about Cunha today, getting the ball up the pitch quick, driving with the ball, taking it, not being afraid to commit defenders, and the calmness, certainly the second goal, the calmness to chop back inside and put it in the bottom corner. So I think his performance was excellent, and certainly on the back of what he had to go through during that game. I think, hats off to him. It was an incredible performance, and he certainly didn't deserve to be on the losing side that night.
Yes, just thought it was important to acknowledge. We've spoken about Antoine Semenyo, but also let's not completely let us forget about what a wonderful performance it was from him. Okay, before we go, as fans, we know we love a knee-jerk reaction. So, have either of you got one from the opening weekend? A couple of hot takes, perhaps, from what you've seen, Wayne?
I've got loads.
Go on, Kae, you can go first then.
Go on then.
I think Brentford and West Ham are going down. There you go. I don't want them to go down. I don't want, particularly West Ham. I think they're a Premier League club. I like
Someone
it
doesn't
when
want
big
the
clubs.
West Ham fans turning against them.
No. But I genuinely, I think the league's a better place with West Ham in it. But I just think that they've got that midfield looks like it's going to get overrun all season. They can't control games, and it's not looking good for Graham Potter. But I hope they turn it around.
I'm worried for Brentford. I think it's going to be a tough season for them. Yeah. I think we have to give praise to Sunderland. I think what a fantastic performance and result, and so many new players. And Nottingham's changed from, I played against them last season, Nottingham's changed from how they played, the style of play. So there's been a lot of work with a lot of new players, and I thought they were excellent. And it pains me, but Man City, I think they looked really good. The new players coming in, there seemed to be an energy about Man City which we didn't see last season. And with Pep there, obviously I think he's brought his new assistant in as well. I think they're going to be strong this season. So for me, that's the painful ones for me to go through.
And on that note, we'll end the show. Guys, thank you so much. As always, there is plenty more for us to talk about. And the good news is we are doing this twice a week. And of course, still one big match to come on Monday night. Leeds taking on Everton.
The biggest one of the weekend.
I imagine you're looking forward to that one, aren't you, Wayne?
Yeah, I am. I think looking forward to seeing Everton.
And Jack.
A few new players. Super Jack Grealish in the blue shirt. And I think they'll have a good season this season. I'm optimistic for Everton this season. Tough game, Leeds away. very tough game, but I'm very optimistic, so hopefully get 3 points.
We'll find out if you're still feeling as optimistic after their season opener. Well, that's all from us today, but a reminder, you can watch the Wayne Rooney Show on the BBC iPlayer or the BBC Sport YouTube, and you can listen on BBC Sounds.